Good morning, everybody. It's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. I wanted to show you my latest little book. It is so sweet. It measures about 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and it's a couple of inches thick. There's a piece of ribbon that goes around a couple of times and then just wraps behind this really pretty butterfly. The ribbon's just sewn to the back here. Most of this is hand stitched, but I did do this particular part with a sewing machine. It's bound with a couple of different colors of thread just to make it feel more sturdy. Fabric can be a little bit floppy, and the first stitch that I did, I only did 3 holes, but then I went back and used the blue thread all the way down the center. There's a piece of rhinestone trim on the front. I went back a third time and just put a heavy cord through in one spot right in the center of the book and put a little bottle with lavender in it. And then there's the tiniest little heart charm. The main reason for this tiny little journal, well, I love it. That's the main reason, is that I love these little journals. The other reason, though, is that it's cold right now, and I don't always feel like coming out to the workshop to heat everything up. I love to sit inside with Jason at night. So I've put together a journal station that sits right by the couch. I've always had one, but this one I have amped it up a little bit. So let's look at this little book. It's got the butterfly charm on the front that was sent to me in Happy Mail. I love it so much. The rhinestone trim, and just there's vintage lace on the outside. I love the black and white fabric, and you will see more of that throughout the book. In fact, there's a piece there. There's just a little butterfly die cut. This is a piece of vellum that I stamped an image on. I love the way that turned out. I think it's so pretty. And then this page is another piece of fabric that I liked because it had the writing on it. And I sewed a few flower petals here. This is some sequin trim that I actually glued into place. And there's just a small piece of boho fabric that I'm planning to use in another project. I've got more of that. But I loved just that little piece with the gold, and it matches the flower. And where I sewed that by hand, I left the string long so that I could put a couple of beads on it. This is a piece of lace that runs across both pages. I've stitched by hand all around that so it stays, attached and makes a pocket. And this is one of my favorite spots. So these ladies, they were side by side in an image that I thought was really cute. Of course, it's vintage. So I just cut it right down the center and glued them to some handmade paper that I made out here a few nights ago, or it was probably a few weeks ago. Time has just basically lost meaning for me. This is a little paper bead that was sent to me in Happy Mail. Isn't that beautiful? I've always wanted to try making those paper beads. I still have not done it. And then that's a beautiful piece of fabric. It's got the moth. There is a rusty safety pin there. And then here's a little piece of fabric. It's that really gauzy fabric that I have that's got the stars on it. And you can see the outline, the edge of part of a star there. It's so pretty. Please pardon my fingers and my fingernails. It's impossible to keep them beautifully manicured because of my job. This is part of an old book spine. I just thought that was really pretty. And then there's just a pretty piece of thread, or yarn, I should say, going through the middle. And I love to keep the edges of paper like that to glue down. Just adds a lot of interest. And then we turn the page and I have some crinkly paper. I love this so much. It's probably some sort of gift wrap. But I just cut off a little square and glued on the top of this page. And that's some fun paper. I don't know, the white paper underneath, it's kind of rough. It almost feels like, well, I don't know. It's got a lot of fibers in it. You can really see that, but it's not to the point of looking like actual pulp, like handmade paper. There's another piece of that black and white fabric, and then there's a tiny little part of an embroidered table scarf. Here's a page from an old French textbook. And then here's a piece of handmade paper. I would love to say I made this, but I didn't. But I'm working on being able to include the flowers and things like that. Oh, I love how this page turned out. I just took some little letter beads and stitched them across the page. I hope you can see that okay. And then again, I left the string long and just put a couple of beads. Kind of like, these beads look like little stones, you know, little pieces of, almost like a river rock or something. It's really pretty. You know, like tiny polished pieces of river rock. So then we turn the page and I love that you can see the stitches here. And this is just another image that I cut out. I love the big hat and her expression. I stitched a tiny little heart bead here. There's some handmade paper in the back. That's some that I made out here. You can tell that this is a piece of computer paper. You can see that strip along the edge with the holes in it. And then you turn the page and you can see there is a layer of an artificial flower. This one is sort of velvety. I really love that. And then there's just some text stamp on this page. There's definitely room throughout this book to go back and keep adding more and more. Then you turn the page to the center and it's just an image from the French book. There's a lady sitting there in a chair and it looks like she's selling flowers. You can see the old cars. This flower petal is sort of an accident. It's just stuck to the tape at the top of the page. Yeah, see, that's fine. Maybe I will just leave that. That is just a pretty, pretty piece of ribbon that I glued to the outer edge of that page. And then this is one of the little paper doll fussy cuts from the early 1900s or even the late 1800s. You might remember that I bought several packs of these a while back. It was a donation at the scrap exchange where I work, and there were truly hundreds, all preserved. This beautiful, they're flat, they're not wrinkled. So I packaged them and put them out for sale and waited 24 hours and there happened to be a few left, but there were so many. So I was able to buy some after 24 hours. So that's where the little girl came from. I've punched out a butterfly with my little butterfly stamp or punch. There's some washi tape. I wrote along the edge here, early 1900s cut out. And that's just a circle that was cut out with a punch. I keep some of those around all the time for my collage art. And then there's just a beautiful part of a map page. And again, another circle. It had a globe there, but it was I didn't like the color with the rest of the journal. So I just put one of my punched circles over that. I had this H floating around the workshop. I decided to incorporate that. My maiden name starts with an H, of course. And there's actually a little pocket in here. So when you turn the page, you've got this beautiful fabric and the trim that's glued into place and a couple of beads hanging from a rusty safety pin. And in here, it's just another piece of the handmade paper. I used glitter in that paper. I know a lot of people don't like glitter. I'm trying to use up what I have. And I don't know. I like glitter, but I know it's not good for the environment. I didn't know that all along. I think in the last decade, they're really telling us that. Or maybe I just started hearing it. Here is a tiny little pocket with a tag and got the butterfly stamped on that little distressed tag. More of that beautiful handmade paper. I did not make that. And then there's a piece of that black and white fabric that had the writing on it. This piece of yarn is just laying in the center. And I stamped here, it takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. And I glued just a few little like sequin stars there, glitter stars. And there's a little piece of netting. This may have fallen out. I'm just gonna put it in here. I don't think I had it attached. But, you know, it would be pretty to put it on that page that doesn't really have anything on it. I may come back and do something to that page. I really didn't realize I didn't do anything to that one. There's a pretty piece of red velvety fabric that's got the design on it. I just stitched that to this gauzy page, and again you can see a star. There's some pretty trim that I wanted to use. It's like a grid pattern, or a what do you call this? Netting, and it's that beautiful silver. And then more of the black and white fabric and some pretty lace trim on this really heavy, looks almost burlappy or like canvas. And I just glued one of the little sticky notes in that's got the frog and the mushrooms. And there is another beautiful face stamped on some vellum. Now for this one, see, I love it without the background, but it's really fun to put the background there. So I just paper clipped this piece of paper that had been on my art desk. And of course it's covered in all different kinds of paint, and it's grungy. And then the last page, there is a piece of really pretty sheer sort of netting that's hand stitched over the back cover, and I filled it with lavender before sewing across the top with the sewing machine. And then of course we get to the back. I still need to add my birdsong stamp. So I will do that and probably add something to that one page that is just sort of still plain. It's like a canvas waiting for something. So I just wrap that around a couple of times and actually pull it under the butterfly there. And that is that little book. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get inside now and get ready for work. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Bye for now.